Hey gang, today I'm going to review something that just got released in a cinema really recently, and that is X-Men First Class. This is another prequel to the X-Men franchise, but this one actually focuses on the X-Men and is set in the 60s, about how the X-Men came together. Charles Xavier brought kind of the X-Men together, the original X-Men, including originally Mystique, Havoc, Banshee, and a couple other people, obviously himself, and Magneto, and Moira Taggart, who was a CIA, was it FBI? CIA or FBI agent, who kind of is investigating the mutants, or sort of ends up investigating mutants. I really liked X-Men First Class a lot. I thought it was great. I had a ball of a time watching it. It was certainly more comic booky than the first two X-Men, which I also love. I really hate X-Men Last Stand and X-Men Origins Wolverine. I thought those two were rubbish. So this one was a really good return to form. Now, it wasn't as good as the first two X-Men, but there are a lot of things I loved about it. I love the fact that they recreated the first Magneto scene from X-Men 1 in Poland, I think it is, where he gets taken away from his parents, and then he kind of magnetizes the fence, or whatever you call it. The fence gets ripped down, and then of course you get to see what happens after that, which is awesome. I thought the film could have used a little more time to breathe. It was sort of like a very, especially like the first half, or kind of it was like do, and I was like, okay, let's take a minute, let's slow down. But by the end of the film, the kind of the final act, I felt like it had come into itself, and it had gone, okay, here we go. And then there was that last awesome action scene where, and it was a great film. And there was it didn't end on a cliffhanger, but there was a great lead-in. There could be a great lead-in for more, films set in the 60s or the 70s, however they want to do it. X-Men, second class or third class or whatever they decide they want to call them if they do them. But First Class was, thoroughly enjoyed it. Great acting. James McAvoy is superb. I really love the fact that Charles Xavier was kind of a little bit of a player back in the day, trying to pick up girls with his kind of mutant line, and so that was great. Loved all the backstory of Magneto and his sort of hunt for the Kevin Bacon character. His name I cannot remember at this moment. I felt like the scene where Mystique and Charles meet when they're kids was just a little bit rushed for me, and it was just a little bit squashed in there. I just felt like, I don't know, it's just a bit of coincidence that Mystique breaks into a house and it turns out to be Charles Xavier, who's also a mutant, and I don't know. But I like the fact that they were friends, and then by the end of it, she turns to, not the dark side, but she kind of joins Eric, because she sort of believes in her cause, and there was great character development, because you could see that throughout the film, that towards the end of it, she was sort of like, wanted to be accepted for who she was, and that's kind of what Magneto Eric was about. And Charles didn't quite understand that, and it was interesting. We get to see Charles at the beginning of the film, and he's getting to the place where he is in sort of in X-Men 1 and 2, but he's not quite there yet by the end of the film. But if we see a sequel or sequels, then I think he'll get there. Continuity errors. I'm trying to think. I haven't seen X-Men Last Stand in a while, but I don't think it lines up with the flashback scene with Jean Grey when she's a little girl in X-Men Last Stand, because I think Charles is bald there, and he's still friends with Magneto at that point. Whereas obviously by the end of X-Men First Class, Charles isn't bald, but he's no longer friends with Eric. So that kind of doesn't really match up. But when you enjoy a film, I think you can forgive inconsistencies with sequels or anything. And obviously there's the whole Emma Frost thing of Emma Frost makes a sort of cameo appearance in X-Men Origins, where she's kind of in her 20s or a teenager in what I think it's set in like 80s or maybe the 70s. I think it's the 80s. And she makes a brief appearance. I don't think she ever reveals her last name is Frost, but she says she's Emma and she can do the diamond skin thing. So again, that doesn't match up with First Class as being like, you got January Jones playing her, who's in her 30s, in the 60s. I mean, you could say they're different characters. I suppose you have to at this point. You know, she just happens to have the same name and a very similar power. Um, but yeah, great acting all around. Really like Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique. Great choice. And also enjoyed a few little cameos, which you know what I'm talking about if you've seen the film. A few little unexpected cameos which I hadn't heard about. So that was nice. Yeah, I enjoyed all the play. Felt again, you know, suffered from a few of the problems of the third and fourth, or the third and Origin, sorry, which made them rubbish with, again, sort of pacing problems and not having enough room to breathe, which obviously I mentioned, but also some underdeveloped characters. Even though he's in the film quite a lot, he never was really fleshed out, which was Azazel, but he's a cool character. And also, the guy's name I can't remember, but he can fit to his surroundings. And I can't remember, he's the one who gets, but he burns up basically and turns to rock. And I felt like he was just sort of there to die, which is a bit unfair. But, yeah, and everyone's kind of slamming January Jones' performance as Emma Frost, which I can kind of see. She wasn't quite evil enough. Hopefully, maybe if they do Second Class or whatever, we'll get to see her as more kind of evil than Emma Frost from the comic books, which is great, and maybe transition into her being a good guy, which is what happens, I think, in the comic books. But she's pretty smoking hot, so that's alright, I guess. Yeah, so while it wasn't as good as the first two X-Men, it was a super fun ride. Had enjoying it again. You know, just really, and I'd recommend if you were disappointed with X3 and X Origins, then I'd recommend checking out First Class because it's a great flick. It's very, very good. It's not perfect. I'd probably give it. I can't go with the 8. I can't hit the 8, but I'd probably give it about a 7.5 out of 10. It nearly hits the 8, but just like if we just slowed down a bit, had more time to breathe, and you know, just I think it would have worked a bit better. But there you go. That's X-Men First Class. Hope I'll see you next week, and peace.